Can your mind become your worst enemy? It's 1979, in the midst of the Cold War between the Soviet Union and United States. Adam Stevenson, a CIA cryptoanalyst, decides to move with his wife Emma into a small house inherited from his parents, nestled in greenery and surrounded by mountains. Their goal is to escape the hustle and bustle of chaotic Boston and find a peaceful place where Adam can concentrate on his delicate work. Adam's assignment is to decipher intercepted Russian secret messages for the CIA, codes whose interpretation could prevent the outbreak of a conflict and potentially save thousands of lives. The first days in the new house pass quietly. Adam alternates between work and fixing up the home with Emma. They repaint the walls, unpack boxes, and replace old furniture. But soon, that tranquility begins to crack. As days go by, increasingly disturbing events start to occur. The power goes out inexplicably, and Adam discovers that a fuse has been removed from the electrical panel, and later found inside the gutted carcass of a deer. The codes Adam has deciphered are stolen, the car's tires are slashed, bugs appear around the house, Emma receives threatening messages, until some hikers are found hanged in the nearby woods. It's really clear that someone is a spy on them, following them, and maybe even trying to kill them. These hypotheses are reinforced not only by the sensitive nature of Adam's work and all these strange phenomena, but also by news from one of his superiors. A member of his team has disappeared. A possible Russian attack is suspected. And yet, something doesn't add up. It's as if certain elements don't match. Whoever is disrupting Adam and Emma's lives seems to know far too much more than any ordinary spy could know, even intimate personal details of their private life. And if the goal were truly to steal the codes and kill them, why haven't they seized the many easy opportunities to do so? Complicating matters further are strange mental blackouts that afflict Adam. He vanishes from home for hours and wakes up in unknown places, with no idea how he gets there. Why are these blackouts happening in Adam's mind? What exactly is going on? What Adam is experiencing are dissociative episodes, moments when he loses track of time, like when he reads the pages of Nicholas' diary, which we'll get to shortly, and outright memory gaps, in which he finds himself in absurd locations without any recollection of how he arrived. All of this is typical of a dissociative disorder, a condition in which one's perception of reality and consciousness become altered. Sufferers can perform actions without later remembering having done them. And what is one of the main causes? Living through an extremely stressful situation accompanied by deep fear or a sense of helplessness. And this is precisely the condition Adam is in. On one hand, he is emotionally invested in an extremely high-pressure job where any mistake could cost thousands of lives. On the other, he lives in constant fear that someone is spying on him and his wife and may harm him and his family, just as happened to his missing colleague. And the fact that he cannot trust anyone and that anyone could be a spy only fuels his paranoia. And all this emotional tension and accumulated stress manifest in Adam as a dissociative episodes. The reason this happens is that, through dissociation, the mind attempts to protect itself from an emotional burden too great to bear consciously. It's a defense mechanism. Our psyche disconnects to itself so that we don't collapse under stress and fear that are intense enough to psychologically destroy us. But before we continue with Adam's story, however, we must speak of Nicholas Hyde, a man who lived in 1850 in the very same house that Adam and Emma moved into. During the renovation work, Adam finds an old diary hidden under an attic floorboard. It is Nicholas' diary, recounting in the first person the traumatic events of his past. Nicholas Hyde was the son of Jacob Hyde, a wealthy landowner. With the help of a corrupt judge, John Norton, and a business partner named George Whitehead, Jacob managed to purchase a mine and an inn for a ridiculously low price. Thanks to these dealings, he amassed enormous wealth and lived a comfortable life. In his diary, Nicholas described his emotional experiences and the feelings he had upon returning, after 10 years in a psychiatric hospital, to his childhood home. It was part of his therapy, confronting his trauma by returning to the places where it all began. Indeed, Nicholas' childhood was marked by physical and psychological abuses at the hands of his father. Jacob used to beat him and even locked him in a dark little room for days, isolated from everything and everyone. Once back in his childhood home, Nicholas begins to experience hallucinations that resemble full-blown psychotic episodes. He sees ghosts of people he encountered in his past, hostile figures trying to harm him. Yet, each time, he is mysteriously saved by a strange masked man who promptly kills these ghosts. And the cause of these visions is soon explained. Nicholas suffers from a severe form of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. This condition manifests when a person survives an extremely traumatic event that posed a serious threat to their life, and that is precisely Nicholas' case. Returning to those places awakened in him all the memories of the abuse and violence he endured at his father's hands, triggering auditory and visual hallucinations tied to the trauma. This phenomenon is fairly common among PTSD sufferers when exposed to stimuli that remind them of the original trauma. However, there is something that still doesn't add up. If Nicholas' only real childhood threat was his father, why is he being hunted by the ghosts of people connected to his father, but with whom he never had any direct contact? For example, Judge Norton, who died under mysterious circumstances, and the private investigator Walter Gilman, who was probing Norton's murder and suspected that the culprit was Jacob Hyde, Nicholas' father. The answer only appears at the very end of Nicholas' diary. The reason he is tormented by the ghosts of these people, who seemingly played no active role in his life, is because the true killer of all these victims, it was him all along. The continuous abuse inflicted by his father led Nicholas to develop a severe dissociative condition, specifically Dissociative Identity Disorder, or DID. Unlike a simple dissociative episode, the individual, in order to survive, fragments his identity into multiple distinct personalities, each with its own character traits, which may alternately take control of the body. So, it is not a merely memory gaps. We are talking about two or more autonomous identities, each capable of seizing control at different times. To use an analogy, imagine the brain as a control room. In a typical person's life, there is always a single operator at the helm. But in DID, multiple operators occupy that room, passing control back and forth depending on the situation. In Nicholas' case, he developed a second personality to survive. Violent, aggressive, capable of killing in order to defend himself. And we will call this person the Beast. To complicate matters further, not all personalities are aware of one another, or at least not always. And this is exactly what happened to Nicholas. When the Beast takes over, he has no awareness of what is happening, and afterward completely forgets the events that occurred during those episodes. But over time, the Beast ceased to kill only in self-defense. It began murdering anyone it deemed evil or dangerous to others, because Nicholas had come to believe deeply that the world was full of cruel people who deserved to die. And this is precisely why Nicholas is hunted by the ghosts of these individuals. a part of his subconscious begins to surface, pushing him toward the realization that he himself killed them, that all of those murders, all that horror, were his doing. But what does all this have to do with Adam's story set a full 100 years later? One day, after Emma calls the police following a break-in attempt at their home, Adam finds an old newspaper clipping in the patrol car. And the discovery is shocking. Nicholas Hyde is none other than Adam's great-great-grandfather, and to live in peace, free from the echoes of those horrific murders, the Hyde family chose to change their last name to Stevenson. And this detail is crucial. The whole affair of the Russian spy and the intruder in their home only serves to drive Adam deeper into paranoia, to the point that he even begins to doubt Emma. His dissociative episodes grow increasingly severe and prolonged. In one occasion, he awakens and cuffed to the corpse of the police officer. On another, he finds himself behind the wheel of a car plunging into a lake, with the dismembered body of the police officer stashed into the trunk. And each time it happens immediately after he reads new pages of Nicholas' diary, as though its contents are eroding his sanity further. And only at the very end of the game do we uncover the chilling truth. There was never any Russian spy, no outside threat at all. Consumed by paranoia, Adam himself planted the bugs around the house, slashed his own tires, murdered the officer and the hikers, and spied on Emma. He did it because his distrust has become so extreme that he trusted no one, growing hyper-controlling and seeing spies around every corner. And why does it matter that Adam is descended from Nicholas? Because it introduces the concept of intergenerational trauma, a phenomenon in which the effects of a trauma experienced by one person are transmitted through family dynamics and biological and genetic mechanisms to their descendants, even when those descendants have not directly lived through the traumatic events themselves. Furthermore, extreme events may activate dormant sections of our DNA, heightening our vulnerability to stress, even mild stress. And this explains why, in addition to the pressures of his job, Adam carries a psychological inheritance that amplifies his dissociation and accelerates his mental decline. And here we return to our opening question. Can your own mind become your worst enemy? In both Adam's and Nicholas' cases, the answer appears to be yes, but not because the mind is evil or intentionally destructive. Rather, when emotions overwhelm us and pain becomes unmanageable, the mind strives to protect us, and sometimes those defense mechanisms, like dissociation, become so powerful that we lose control, spawning another version of ourselves that acts, thinks, and lives independently of our conscious will. Adam's story is a profound exploration of the human psyche, its fractures and the shadows that emerge under pressure, and a testament to how unresolved pain, whether our own or inherited from those who came before us, can find new avenues for expression. And what seems at first to be a tale of spies, threats, and secret codes, ultimately reveals itself to be something far more intimate and profound. An investigation into identity, memory, and fragile boundary between reality and perception.